What's going on, boys? Thanks to our patrons and Fiverr customers, subscribe to our Patreon free for behind the scenes stuff. Arm yourselves, life stuff. Monetization is our primary topic today, but before we get into that, I want to add one more thought about this life situation that occurred to me yesterday as I was uploading that video. Why am I so concerned about getting this right? It's because I don't want to give up on training myself to deal with trying family situations. If I and my child or children don't get along, I don't want my trained instinct to be to dump them off. When or if I have a family, I want to enjoy my family. And it seems like bad or unhappy families are the norm. I want to be prepared not to let that happen, and I'm not going to have the muscles to make that happen if I take the disengagement route. And that seems to be the way most families work out. Even in family situations that are not tumultuous, there seems to be this push toward disengagement. And I'm wondering if, on some noospheric level, that's intentional. Because strong family connections are another conviction that might make reordering things in our society a little more difficult. So much easier is that reordering when families don't care about one another. And I'm not saying all families should care about one another or even can care about one another, but it is another aspect of life older cultures or even other cultures would be willing to get nasty about if they got fucked with in some way. The fewer people who give a shit, the easier taking advantage is. You're familiar with how evil the assisted living situation is in the United States. How many of these prisoners do you think there are who have children who could be fighting for them but aren't because of generational, societal, cultural apathy? I don't know how my and my parents' situation is going to turn out in the end, but that is not the situation I want between me and my hypothetical children. Not just for my benefit, although that is part of it, even though I hope, I get shot like Tony Soprano in my 50s or 60s before it gets to that level, but also for my children's sake, even if we don't get along. I don't want to put the burden of figuring our connection out squarely on them. That's, in large part, my responsibility. And I won't be able to do that if I'm not practiced. Okay, monetization. I'd like to spend 2025, if I'm able, expanding monetization without flooding the channel with ads. And I figured out, or I heard, another theory about why ad revenue has taken such a steep drop off. The election's over. Some advertisers wanted to put election ads on everything not election related. Other advertisers are aware everybody is paying attention to the election, so they want to run as many ads as possible during election content. Now the election's over, and so is the advertising frenzy. So that's got me thinking about more monetization channels. Firstly and easiest, I think I'll start making the Patreon notes, journaling, video planning things available for public view after a month or so they've been up. I appreciate everyone who joins free to get access to these things, and more people than I was expecting joined to get access to them. But I think showing people what's available for free might get them to join for that early access. And while that form of engagement doesn't earn me money directly, all engagement is or becomes profitable, and all engagement is exponential. For example, without my YouTube audience, my tarot fiver quotes business would not have gone anywhere. With the YouTube channel, with the engagement, we aren't making money hand over fist, but in this limited market, we're in the top 10% of sellers. And with some effective maneuvers, that could turn into the top 1%. I believe that. We're to the point people who don't know the channel are ordering off the Fiverr and then finding the channel. And to be clear, we don't earn crazy money from any of this stuff yet. With the Fiverr, after taxes and after Fiverr's cut, we've earned about $600. With YouTube, I always say I can reliably average $1 a day, which would be 66 cents per day. But that's an extremely safe estimate, and I use it because I don't like being wrong. Right now, we're actually under $1 per day without YouTube's cut, and without taxes too, actually. But during good times, we average around $2. Some days we get up to $5. That's not very common. A couple months ago, we actually went over $10 in one day, which is an exciting number. And that includes the super thanks, which thank you to people who purchase those. And then with Patreon, we are currently doing $30 per month, but in total we've earned around $115. I'm pretty sure it's at $117 right now. So none of this stuff earns a ton of money, but I hope you can see the way they feed into one another. And I'm curious what those numbers would look like if we didn't intentionally push people away and make bad marketing decisions, unoptimize for search engines. Because I recently finished a continuing education digital marketing course that is accredited. That's another thing to put in my little please give me a job binder that actually turned out not to be worthless. There are hard marketing measures, digital marketing measures that do work. And there are soft marketing measures that do work that I've needed to learn so we can do the opposite of them and curate our audience a bit. But how profitable would an uncurated audience be? How quickly could you grow an audience using fakeness steroids, and how profitable would that audience be? One of the dumb shit things I was thinking about doing, and normally would not think about in a situation I thought I was doing okay financially, because I don't like it, online courses. How do you decide what you want to teach people, and what makes you qualified to teach anyone anything? What gives you the right? Well, in terms of qualifications and right, nothing, but that doesn't stop you from trying to do good work. And in terms of outcomes, one of my favorite bricktop quotes from Snatch: if I throw a dog a bone, I don't want to know if it tastes good. So in terms of formatting, you have your one totally free on YouTube sampler course. Then you have smaller samplers for your other full courses. Those are the ones you would sell. And there are a few intermediary platforms that would make selling like that less stressful. But then how do you decide what you want to try to sell or what you want to teach people? Well, this is my homebrew value proposition strategy or search tool. Mixture of personal experience and shit I learned from a continuing education course at a community college. How do you feel and what do you want? Do not try to conform your feelings or desires to what you think is on offer on the market. Plug exactly how you feel or what you want in the way you want it into a search engine and poke around. I almost guarantee you are not going to find exactly what you're looking for. Now, you might think that's because you're so unique, but that's not the case. What's actually happening is these feelings and desires worded these ways are common within a particular market segment that is not being serviced by any businesses at present. Now, that market segment may be small, and that's why you don't see people going all in for a business to service this need or desire. But that's where you, a dirty squid influencer, grow another tentacle and slide it right in there. You create a low investment, low return something just to see if anyone bites. And I can tell you from experience they do. But it's going to be weird people who don't basically operate under populism or popularity or trends, whatever you want to call it. Weirdos who don't know that going outside the herd is dangerous, or weirdos who think it's good to go outside the herd and try something dangerous or untested. Your first couple hundred subscribers on YouTube are going to be absolute freaks if you are not marketing your channel in a hard and fast, get to 1,000 subscribers in a month fashion. But these are the people you're looking for. You are servicing people not accustomed to being serviced. The tarot thing has actually worked out pretty well using that model. I want my cards read, but I am too shy or too time broke to sit down and get my cards read face to face or on Zoom or something. I found that little crevice by appealing to my unserviced needs. It doesn't matter if you're not making tons of money from your market segment if you aren't, or if you don't need to go all in on this one business. So much better to have tons of different revenue streams, like your tentacles on a squid. So, these courses, what do you want to teach people? Step-by-step guides to dealing with emergencies most people aren't going to have, or for some reason there are no resources for. Homelessness, for instance. Now, there are resources for homeless people, but they're inconsistent, shockingly inconsistent. And what I'm most shocked about is there is not... I don't think there's even one that exists, but there's no agreed upon homelessness strategy. As in, when you find out you're becoming homeless, what do you do step by step? I couldn't find one of those. And with the world in the state it's in, that's shocking to me. Now, there are some guides, but they're typically made by people who are homeless, but they're disorganized. They're designed to deal with particular issues, and there's not a, from the moment you find out you're going to be homeless to the time you become rehomed, strategy guide. There isn't one. So I'm thinking make one and make that the totally free, totally available sample. And maybe do that with all the really heavy emergency guides. And this serves two purposes. Maybe more than two, actually. I think people with the most and the best information are more inclined, or would be more inclined, to share that information freely with someone they know is going to create a guide that will be distributed for free. Two, it sticks to your values One of the reasons I despise, really despise, so many psychology YouTubers is they talk about how important mental health is and how terrible this mental health crisis is, and then all they do is sell shit. It's like they exist to make you aware of a problem so they can sell you something. Something that is so important they think needs to be addressed, but not before they make money off it. I hate them. I do hate them. So you get to stand up for something you believe in while you are in a position to still believe in it. And then 3, that type of shit is excellent PR. That makes you look so good. Makes people so much more inclined to buy your shit. But this is where those pesky goddamned ethics kick in. This doesn't necessarily have to do with monetization strategy, but it does have to do with monetization feelings. I know the answer is to embrace the contradiction, but I'm still uneasy about doing positive things when I know I am benefiting, but in a way people might not immediately see. That feels scummy to me, even if the end result is good. And this shouldn't bother me at all, because the stuff you would want to sell for money is stuff that is bullshit. Or if not totally bullshit, then not vitally important. Or in other words, you are selling something you don't totally value. You wouldn't pay whatever money for. Which, that's another thing, who gives a shit? I give a shit on some level. Not enough to stop me from doing it, but enough to get the noggin jogging. And I think to accomplish all this, I'd like to start a completely separate channel just for this. To keep the audiences somewhat separate, to keep feeds a bit cleaner, and so I can continue to run the channels differently. Continue to do things the way I want to do on this channel, and then do things in just the fakest engagement producing manner possible on the positivity one, and see what happens. If I could make big YouTuber money just off ads without needing to have a big YouTuber channel, or rather fuck up my main channel by running it in a big YouTuber way, that would be ideal. Because this channel is, it's a part of who I am, and I would really rather not fuck that up. And I'm beginning to feel a bit better about the way early 2025 is going to turn out. We aren't totally out of the woods, but if everything ends up being okay, we're still gonna, step on the gas on the if this shit happens again, then we have a full, totally ready to go plan together thing. But while we're doing that, or in the process of doing that, maybe that's an opportunity to put that first free guide together and get that ball rolling. Also, sneaky update, I have the groundwork together to do another dream test. This one with no restrictions on type, which of course means deteriorating or worse quality, because I don't know all these types or every type well enough to confirm who is what they say they are. But we can make people aware of that and cover our asses that way if it's a complete fucking disaster. But the application process is a bit tighter. Everything is a lot tighter, and I have visual guides for how to set everything up, so it's easier for the people doing the work and easier for me when it comes to compiling everything. Huge mistake on my part asking for PDFs. I thought that was going to be the safest way to do it. Maybe it is. Turns out Word documents can be made safe. Turns out it was a huge mess. Copying and pasting from a PDF to a Word document does not work the way you think it should. And of course, still don't mind if people don't have access to Word. They use a free word processor. They send me a PDF. I'm still willing to put in the groundwork to fit everything in, but what can be streamlined has been streamlined. And whether we do a huge dream journal thing or we do that 2-stage test on restricted types, I'm not sure, but we're moving forward on that. A drug. a a very interesting drug dealer I roomed with had his own fashion line, and while we're here, I think I've mentioned him before, but it was really genius what he did. Like, you talk about ahead of the curve. He was cutting cheap weed with Delta 8 weed and selling it as a mixture in weed illegal states and earning money hand over fist, and legally, despite having some legal encounters, getting away with it because he had receipts and paperwork to be selling Delta 8 stuff. Really interesting dude. He was the first one who taught me about the Georgia Guidestones. Was the first one who taught me about the Georgia Guidestones. Oh shit, actually, wow, you talk about memories, dude. I was going to mention the fact that he has, or had, I guess, I don't know if he still does, has his own fashion line. Somewhere in all my shit, I still have one of his hats. I bought one of them because I thought, what a smooth dude. As a relic, I just want to own something that he produced. I've been looking at fashion. And what I've been thinking about fashion is, if someone can afford to be ironic or clever or humorous, then fuck them. I don't care about fucking them over and taking their money on some really stupid shit. Those are the sorts of people I don't mind riding until the wheels come off. And I want to do some more research, but I think it's possible. I think there's a way to do this if I put it together correctly. Probably not, but we'll see. And it's preying on irony. I am so tired of fake irony motherfuckers. If I can rob them in broad daylight, legally, that would make me so happy. You like eating shit? I will produce shit you'll pay me to eat. And then there's coaching. A long time ago, an ENTJ dude suggested I start doing ENTJ coaching, and I thought it wouldn't work as an idea. Then, over the years, other ENTJs have requested something similar. So I've been thinking about how to do coaching. Because on the how seriously do you take this scale, to me that would be a really high one. One that you do not want to fuck up, one that you want to approach with a high level of professionalism and good intentions. And I think I would be equipped to coach 3 types. ENTJs first, INFJs second, ENFPs third. And my disdain for coaching generally is, how can anyone say they know how to get you what you want? Because the things you want most in life are the exact things denied to people. That's why everybody wants them. So it seems to me typical coaches, and I'm not saying there aren't good coaches out there, although I'm not hyper familiar with the coaching scene, they seem like they operate on a pump and dump system. They pump you full of hope, and then they dump you off once you realize you aren't going to get what you want, because there's no way to get what you want. So in my head, to fit this to my understanding or what I'm comfortable with, I need to think about coaching differently. We are not trying to accomplish some great thing. We are trying to avoid whatever your type's breakdown situation looks like. For ENTJs, that breakdown scenario is surprise paralysis in the shower followed by sobbing. For INFJs, it is staring at a gun on your desk in a dark room for 6 hours. For ENFPs, it is just getting in the car and driving, or getting on the street and walking until you get yourself stuck in a situation you cannot get yourself out of, or you find a point of no return and go past it. That's what ENFPs do. Those are 3 types and 3 disaster scenarios I am confident I can help people avoid. And the reason I feel comfortable performing that service with these 3 types specifically, and I'm sure you could do this with other types, but I don't know how, I don't have any experience. Unlike trying to teach someone how they're going to accomplish their dream of standing on the moon by jumping on a trampoline really hard, avoiding those disaster scenarios is more like reestablishing a rhythm common to those types. It's not as difficult as it sounds, it's rather systematized, and you don't really need to do a lot. You just need to pay attention and understand the way these types operate. There is a rhythm within those 3 types, and I choose those 3 types specifically, not just because I'm most familiar with them, but because it's not hard. And one of the things I wanted to mention with the courses is everything we would teach in all the courses would be available for free on the main channel, but the payment would be listening to my bullshit. So to give you those things right now, to try to stick to my principles, here's how you keep an ENTJ out of the disaster zone. You keep them thinking and talking about things they care about, even if they never do those things. Get them into a space they feel comfortable talking about things they think matter to them. Doesn't matter if they actually matter to them, doesn't matter if they actually intend to seize upon them. Just get them in a space, consistent space, they feel comfortable talking about things they care about. All you have to do. INFJs, you let them bitch about the people they feel have wronged them, and you get them to talk about and fantasize about the things they want desperately. Which is different from what they feel with the ENTJs. With INFJs, it's specifically the things they want, but they feel people are not allowing them to have. And again, like ENTJs, doesn't matter if they ever actually get those things, as long as they are able to fantasize about things they want, they won't go into disaster mode. ENFPs, you get them into a place they can throw their ideas at you. They're a little bit trickier, actually, despite being one of the easier types to work with. ENFPs are one of the types I recommend as an introductory type if you want to get into typology at a, scalpel level. Start with ENFPs. They're deep, but they're not that hard. They're not as hard to get into as other types would be. Yet, here they are tricky. A little more work on your part. You need to get them into a place they can filter out their ideas, or filter through their ideas. Because every day their brain is going to load them down with 300 ideas, and it's their responsibility to sort out the 2 or 3 good ones from the 298 shitty ones. But that's difficult. time consuming, which is why ENFPs jump all over the place and get so overwhelmed. Get so overwhelmed, they put themselves past points of no return, so they have to commit to something, even though I'm sure that's not what they're thinking they're doing. Your role in this and helping them filter through these ideas is to be a monument that represents something to them. So you need to represent something they think is important, and you need to stand there while they just throw ideas at you. It's like soundboarding, but intensive, because you do need to represent that thing. And unlike with ENTJs and INFJs, it's not all about them. You do need to, stick your neck out a bit and put your personality in there. And I wonder if that's why ENFPs have. You talk with enough ENFPs, weird opinions about therapy. I'm wondering if that's. ENFPs get complicated in the late game. You need to be an active filter for them. You can't stick your hands in what they're doing, but you can't just sit there and watch them either. But you do that consistently enough, you get that rhythm back in place, they won't go into disaster mode, because they'll have the things they need to focus on. So there's how you do my job for free. You can get someone else to fill this value proposition for you for free. However, if you want me to be your coach, I'm trying to figure out how best to do that. I'm thinking a limited access Patreon tier. I actually set up an exclusive, or a Discord that would be technically exclusive. All you'd need to do to get in at all is to be a free member, but then have these side areas or side resources specifically for paying coaching clients. Once a month meetings, plus messaging access. If you're having an emergency, we can figure something out. The issue with that would be interviewing and longevity. Interviewing, because I really don't want to ply this trade on someone who is not one of these three types, because it's not going to work, and I don't want to be responsible for someone going into disaster mode because we didn't, I was giving you X treatment and you were Y person. And then also from the business side of things, there's not a good way to create roots. If we do it via Patreon, I suppose we could do like a testimonials thing and then use this other YouTube channel, or the main channel maybe, to promote that, but that's not the same thing as having everything right there the way Fiverr does. But the reason you don't do Fiverr is people can just buy shit, and that's not what you want. With Patreon, I suppose technically on Fiverr you can refund people after they've spent money, but Fiverr is a bit hard-assy, and that's good if someone is trying to, scud missile your business. They're really good at dealing with shit like that, but they are hard asses about policy. So, and they're very restrictive, turns out. Well, maybe, I don't know. Patreon is a lot easier to deal with, but again, you can't set things up the way, or you can't grow roots in Patreon. And I suppose I could set up my own site or service, but fuck, dude. I tried to do that sales, or I set up that sales business a couple years ago. And that experience was so bad. Like, how incompetent and corrupt government is. I think I told you they stole money from me. Like I sent in an application with money, and then that money just disappeared. I mean, stupid me for trusting the government with cash, but holy shit. So I'm sitting here with this company that I have to pay for. It's just it's a landmine, and I need to disarm it. But when I disarm it, I don't want to get back into running a business that way. If I do the reason I like services like Fiverr and Patreon and YouTube is you don't need to have a corporate structure. I love corporate structure, but I am not prepared to ascend as a corporate angel yet. I'm not at that level. I'm pretty sure there's stuff I'm forgetting, but those are the main monetization ideas that are floating around in the head for 2025. I really want to get all of this shit going so I'm earning enough money that I'm not terrified. I mean, I have enough money. I'm earning enough money and I have enough money. I'm not like totally fucked. I'm not INFJ staring at the gun on my desk fucked, but I'm also not comfortable with where I am. And I'd like to get to that point. And I think we do that by this sort of social investing. Making services and products available to traditionally unserviced market segments. And I'm getting a weird feeling I've been using, or I've misunderstood what market segment means and I've been using it wrong, but context clues, you know what I'm talking about. Niches. While also building up this fakeness, but in mission positive tumor channel off to the side. Notes for the 29th will be up on Patreon within a couple hours. I'm going to have a smoke and think. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't.